My name is Brandon, my IGN is Jaff, and I play for H2O. To get my first ever win in Polaris, it felt pretty good. It felt pretty good for the team. I've specifically been chasing the win for a whole season, but for the team as well, it felt good to see that maybe some of the stuff we were practicing came into the game, and yeah, it felt really good overall. Obviously, I think everyone knows Alliance, like building a project, they haven't really been practicing a lot with a specific fire. I think this actual call's been 2 weeks, so we were pretty confident going in that we had more practice and we thought we were just the better team. For us, the first map, it went okay. I think our pistols were a bit shaky in general. And then I think there was a lot of rounds where like we were just making key mistakes, and although like the score was 13-9, I definitely think we should have won by a lot more. And I think that actually was reflected in the second game, where I feel like we made less mistakes and we just closed out how we should have. On Bind, I can think of like 2 very specific rounds. I can think of the pistol where I flank and like for some reason they weren't holding me and I killed 2 of them. And then there was a round where Hattie's going to spawn and they're like holding him, and then they both turn around and like there's like the most insane timing like, in the entirety of Valorant, and we win the round from it. Yeah, the coming fixtures are definitely a bit more difficult, but I think the first win is kind of always the hardest, especially with like the whole story behind it. And I think I'm not gonna say we're gonna beat XL in some amazing fashion, but I'd say it's definitely not off the table. It's something that we believe we can do. Like they have a lot of tape on them. Like we're sure we can pull something out. I think we can make playoffs. There's been crazy storylines. I'm sure us winning 2 out of the next 3 games isn't one of the craziest things that could ever happen. I definitely feel like we as H2O, we are not as bad as some people think we are, and I think definitely in the coming weeks we should be performing a lot better, and we've definitely been putting stuff in place.
Ladies and gents, you're with us for at least one more map. Well, only one more map, as it is a best of 1, essentially, to decide who takes the series. To Fracture, we turn our attention. And it's significantly closer than I ever expected. And of course, I've got to give H2O the credit. They have looked phenomenal. Even in the 13-11 loss, they were brilliant. And now they've taken a 13-11 victory on Split, a map in which XL historically have been phenomenal. I mean, this is now going down to the wire, but it's all to play for. And Sam, we were on a little conversation just off cameras there. For H2O, Fracture isn't their best map.
Yeah, I mean, the stats are all up in the air here. I'm really surprised that both of these teams decided to float it, because now when I say they're up in the air, H2O have played it twice in the last 3 months, caveat, and XL have played it once. H2O lost it both times. XL won it the 1 time. It's really tough to determine or to ascertain, you know, what is going to happen on this map. What I do find interesting, if we take a look at XL, I'll get to H2O, don't you worry, chat. But if we take a look at XL, they've actually run to the 1 other time they played it, which was against 10-star. They did actually run the Neon. This time around, however, they've opted away from that, putting Patatek back on the Raze, which is clearly a little bit more comfortable on. Now we turn our attention to H2O, and it's Jaff on the Neon. So at least one of my potential scenarios is not going to come to fruition, where H2O have changed their compositional position for Fracture. And so we have to kind of hope that it's going to be the second scenario, where Jaff has put in a ridiculous amount of time in the server on this and has leveled up massively. And to be fair, he's leveled up a lot between stage 1 and stage 2, but has he leveled up enough on his Neon play to be able to go toe-to-toe with Alliance? They have gone toe-to-toe on the first 2 maps. We know that it's doable, at the very least for H2O as a whole, but we also know that the Neon has been, and I'm gonna call a spade, it's been a bit of a liability for H2O in the past. So this is gonna be the biggest question mark. Can they make it work here? They're starting on the defensive side, and hopefully, we'll have as much of a show on this map as we've had on the first 2.
Of course, I have to wait and see. Of course, XL on attack, trying to go slightly aggressive. Knife will come out as well. Presence detected as well, but what will they find? Rotating back in. Dink to come through as well. Patsek will drop the paint canisters in. It's that flank coming through, but it's a double opener. Patsek and Mo want a piece. Spike to go down momentarily low on HP. Hang on a second, though. Alex has found a bit of space to work with. Finds a second, too. And this is the showing we saw from Alex so far this series. He has been a difference maker. Here's a sound cues close. Patsek, but he's not going to make that aggressive start. It's all about timing at the moment, as Chihuahua might be able to find a gap of his own in behind. Alex going to try and double back in towards heaven. Up the wire he goes. What can he find with the headhunter in play? Patateka freebie. They've walked into him. Yeah, for more. It's down to just one man. He has to be brilliant here, Chihuahua. Snakebite to come through momentarily onto the spike, potentially tapping away. One more, but no. Hardy will close things out down to the wire. I think he just has enough time as well in a 1 versus 1. And of course, it's that. Does he have enough time? Oh, it's very close. Yeah, he does. Again, it's down to him. It's Alex. Brilliant from him.
But of course, a nice little clutch there from Hardy to keep the dream alive towards the enemy. So Alex really walked into that round like, look at me, I am the duelist now. And he manages to pop off with a beautiful little 3K here. And just keeping H2O's dream alive. Once again, H2O win the pistol. Question is, what is XL's response? We have seen them opt to force up previously after losing the pistol. Didn't work out too well for them the last time, and of course, glad to see that is not going to be the case here again. Instead, it's going to be the full, the Shiko, as we like to call it in the biz.
That's the cool kids do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shiko plus Headhunter, which is essentially a sheriff, so that doesn't change terribly much.
Not at all. Now, we've got to wanted to see what Yaffa's going to be like on that Neon. I'm really interested to see whether he's sort of stepped things up. Takes a bit of damage early doors. Let's be careful now as he's in a really uncomfortable space. Concussed. Walls will go on to buy him a little bit of time at the very least. How are you going to find one? Flash to come through. It's nice and aggro for Fake. I don't know, spamming in. Not going to spot out too much on the flank. Chihuahua potentially could catch something. Looking for a head. Won't find it. Spray coming through. Stays alive just about Chihuahua. They'll go back in towards under. It's a 4 versus 4, and there's a potential for a wrap back over towards A, but no, it looks like still committing over towards that B site they'll go. Ja, holding. Going slightly aggro here as well. If he gets caught off guard, they get a freebie. Foxy in the charge. Seeing that smoke, it's all about timing. 35 seconds to work with. There's Foxy finding one. Looking to find one more spot. The smoke Patsek delivers. Hardy will fall in now in a 2 versus 4. Yes, low on HP and XL, but they can make this work. They can make this... What is a nothing by work in their favour somehow, some way. Alex down to 14. He'll fire one of his own, but he's left all alone now. It needs to be a quad clutch for him. The pay canisters will keep him at bay. 14 points of HP. But everybody in this over is 1 bullet away from death.
It's
not going to help either.
Jeez. I'm happy that he survives it, but not for much longer. This is a really good round for XL. Let's take a second. They came into that round with nothing. All of those guns you see, they got picked up off the floor, off the back of a few good shots. I mean, that is stunning. And it obviously forces H2O into a rough spot, because this should have been their rifle, or rather, it should have been their bonus. And because they don't have any weapons to bonus, it's instead going to be essentially a save. There's a little bit of cash spent in there, most notably, of course, Alex buying into the bullets for the Headhunter. But across the board, it's essentially a save, a very, very low buy. And XL find themselves in a bit of a bonus position here. So it's a good turnaround from them. I want to see how they leverage this, though.
Yeah, that's the question. It's out of square. One apiece. It's not too bad at all. But as you mentioned, I mean, what do H2O try and do with this Fake? I know that's destroyed. Jaff one of his own, though, with the classic is not too shabby. Missed shots with the Headhunter, and Alex don't miss those. Spike goes down. What more can they find? Chihuahua, good for catching one in transition. Now needs to just keep the numbers in their favor. It's a 3-on-3. Firepower definitely benefits that of XL. Sliding his way forward. Jaff just gets picked apart with ease. Like duck hunting out of the sky. He gets shot down. He's down to just 2. Hadi with a classic. Riyadh with a Spectre. To keep the minutes, and Mo just fall away off the back of the Molotov. He can play the nice elevated angle. Easy to produce, and that's what we'll find. Chihuahua and Mo, one apiece. XL up to 2.
Yeah, pretty much expected for them to come out on top of that one. It was looking a little dicey for a moment there, as H2O, of course, keep it relatively expensive. But at the end of the day, it's XL that come out on top, and it really does feel like they kind of had a bit of a resurgence, I guess, you know, start to realize what their mistakes are. There was a little bit of a break between the two maps, and they also realized that this is a pretty important one to win. I mean, for the team that's at the top of the leaderboard, if they lost to the team that's second from the bottom, I think it would be a bit of a blow to their egos, I'll be perfectly honest. So I think that they kind of took a moment to reassess.
Yeah, that's for sure. Trying to find something here. Chihuahua going slightly aggressive. Showstopper on board, in fact. Free kill. How do you all fall? Nice little stars, and the spike down as well in a matter of seconds, down to 5 versus 3. Potentially, H2O might even be tempted to save here. I mean, they've gone for that full investment. They've got nothing in the long-term economy, and the numbers don't favour them. They might be tempted, and now for sure, definitely, it's a 1-for-1. Jaff and Riyadh, and they might just play for exits. A 2 versus 4, they're going to struggle to get in towards the side, and even though it's a bonus for XL, they're definitely in the driver's seat now. Just fall away, and that's what we're seeing. Riyadh taking those steps back over towards the A side. He'll support that of Jaff as they're just going to keep this ticket across.
I'm really impressed with how well XL's been doing at the moment. But again, I kind of have to mention the compositional effect that I think has come into play here. Oh, Riyadh trying to keep it at least a little bit expensive. Not going to be able to get much more than that, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think that they lose out on a lot. So you look at Riyadh, for example, who normally plays the Raze. Now he's playing the Brimstone because the duelist role is taken by Jaff, who normally plays a controller. So it creates like a really weird dynamic in the team. And I'm not too sure. Obviously, I'm not behind the curtain. I don't know how these decisions and these choices get made. But I think that it's a bit of a weird one, all things considered. And XL are doing really well to take advantage of that. They know that they have the upper hand because they're not leaning into the current meta, quote unquote. They're playing what they're good at, and they're rocking it.
That's for sure. Chihuahua, 2. Looking for 3. Won't quite find it. Jaff just trades. That's enough. Done his job. Back down to a significant man advantage. And as well, it might be another scenario where for H2O, it's the save call here. I mean, they've got so little to work with. Jump around the corner, trying to find that early entry. If they can find it back to a 2 versus 3, there's a lifeline extended, but no, they're making that movement back to save once again. Just keep hold of what they've got. It's only a Bulldog for Hadi, but it's not the greatest. Bulldog and a Phantom. They give up a 4th. Sam, this is a really strong start for XL. I mean, they are pulling away relatively easily.
I mean, let's not count our chickens here. We've seen this before. H2O get like this crazy runaway lead, and then a few rounds in, XL go, hold on a second, and they slam the brakes. Right, so we're still kind of getting the feel for this. Of course, this map definitely breaks the mold because it's the first map where the team that wins the pistol doesn't get the runaway lead. So that could kind of lean into a potential change up here. This could maybe be XL getting a bit of a major runaway, something more akin to what we saw in our first series of the day, our first map of the day. Is now H2O going to be, again, you know, they kind of have to force into this. They're spending everything that they have, and I do question that decision because it does have some serious consequences going into the next few rounds. But of course, with everyone buying down to like 0 credits, it's not the end of the world. We also just bear in mind that XL have now given themselves the most ridiculous advantage in terms of cash, but Jaff taking down alive could be the exact in they need.
Spikes go down. Of course, numbers in favor of H2O, but it's all about this retake. Slightly questionable sort of firepower with that 1 Bulldog on play, but the utility will be everything. Mo could make things back in their favor. A couple of pop shots won't quite work. Alex making this all the more easier. Swing coming through. The old pop, but Jaff can't find anything with it. One more as well for Mo before he's traded. Patek finding one of his own. Another numbers brought even, or so I say, before Fake Ananas comes online. It's Foxy in a 1 versus 2. Presence detected. They know exactly where he's at. It's all about what can they do with it. Smoke in his face. Give it a freebie, but Fake Ananas through the smoke. Just about finding that final kill down to the wire, but it's H2O to put a second on the board, and that was so close for comfort. A spray through the smoke, and it just about works in his favor.
A very important round for H2O to win, bearing in mind what they had going into that round. I mean, I had some serious doubts on what they were even going to get done. And of course, Jaff dies so early on with his ultimate as well. Like, this looked like another round where XL were just going to roll over. And it's down to, again, some pretty interesting heroics towards the end of the round there. Fake and Ananas, we saw how good he was on the Fade in the previous map. Now he comes back out with the KO, which is a little bit more akin to. And another strong position here to get themselves back into it somewhat. But they're not out of the woods just yet. Yes, they do have a couple of ultimates online, but bearing in mind two of their players are down onto Bulldogs. And XL's economy is still great.
Alex, oh, we had the elevated angle, but Alive is all too wet. Gets dropped. What can they find? Orbital strike line, and so's the Rolling Thunder. So much in terms of trying to deny this. Not the kill to find. It's a hectic showing here, to say the very least. As now, of course, a Viper's Pit also joins the fray. Everything burns round number 7 if they want to try and make this work. Put a step down to Hadi, and just now Riyadh. 1 versus 4. They know exactly where he is, and he got 1 point of HP. Down he goes. 5th on the board for XL, and that was so expensive for H2O as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they want to convert that. They know that they don't have a whole hell of a lot, but to commit that many ultimates, and all XL did was drop a Viper's Pit to deny sightlines, and then once you're in the pit and you have, you know, obviously everybody glows bright red when they come into range, and you just kind of mow them down a little bit. Yeah, okay, very often you do see players whose Viper's Pit it is lose out on those duels, but this is XL we're talking about, and this is an XL that really don't want to lose this map. For the sake of pride, for the sake of their top spot, they really don't want to come out second best here, and unfortunately that's going to be H2O back down onto a pistol. They find themselves in a really rough spot. Alex is already down, and you mentioned he's been a linchpin for this team, and to have him down so early.
Yep. Look at them now. Down to 2. Jaff and Hadi. Look where we stand. It's very comfortably going to be the 6th there. XL are starting to really run away with things now on their attacking side.
Spike planted.
And I worry for H2O. We said it kind of, statistically speaking, this isn't the greatest map for them, and unfortunately it's starting to quite prevalently show. Does just do. They're going for a little hunt. Easy double for Chihuahua. 6-2. Flawless round. Sam, I'm getting worried now.
You know what? I'm not getting too worried just yet, because again, we've seen this before. I have read this book. And very often things turn in a pretty unexpected way. I mean, you can kind of cast your mind back a few rounds where H2O come out on top of a round that they probably wouldn't have won ordinarily. And if you remember how Bind started, this was a very similar story. H2O win the pistol, XL have like a crazy runaway, and then H2O start bringing it back. So there is a possibility here. They're taking a much needed timeout. I think Alex is in a little bit of a tough spot economically. He will obviously be able to buy into a rifle here, but not going to be able to upgrade that armor, unfortunately. So going to be a little bit of a glass cannon alongside Fake and Ananas. But they do have the KO ultimate available. But on the other side, there are far deadlier ultimates available. That Showstopper, the Twitter Force, and in Alive's hands, it can be devastating. We have to bear in mind, of course, that with XL being on the attacking side and this being Fracture, it could be that little bit more difficult for, you know, that Twitter Force to get maximum value.
Yeah. Off the back of that timeout, H2O desperately need to just turn the tide in any way they can. And with the way they're playing so far, it's really not been the dream starts for them. Only really Alex finding a fairly decent start. Even he's only 6-8. It's a really uncomfortable position then to be in, where XO realistically should be able to build up quite a significant gap on their attacking side in this first half. And trying to get dire going forward. Still now, making their way back over towards A. In comes the Showstopper 2. In towards Maybach. Fight something. No damage, but not the frag. Riyadh low on HP. He will be at the heel coming through. He's going to be okay for the time being. 41 points of HP to work with as he dances back on towards the side. The double stack here with Jaff 2.
This is weird. Like, they get onto the site. The site is completely free. I suppose it's meant as a double fake. They pulled back, and now they're pushing back towards A site, and H2O have like read into it. They haven't moved from their position.
Partasek as well. The right idea. Holding away. He's expecting the swing to come through at range. Spots the elbow. That's enough. Alex will fall. He's dinked through the wall. Now numbers in their favor. Flash to come through as well. Jaffley in the charge. What can he find? Is the question. Walking straight towards the scope. Chihuahua in for support as well. They're behind. They line up, and they do. Alive and Chihuahua one apiece, and now this is starting to become very dire. Flash into the corner. What can he find? Swinging in. Just the ball. Labored spray, but comes out on top. Foxy will fall. Mo will clean things up, and that's XL up to 7. They survive another full buy of H2O to guarantee a lead heading in towards our second half.
Map control from H2O definitely seems to be a bit lackluster. I think that like overall awareness on Fracture has been a struggle. I mean, those 2 kills coming in behind them from A main is a perfect example. They're not checking that at all, and the rotation to get there isn't that difficult for XL. And so I think that it's these small misplays, and again, it's unfamiliarity with the map that definitely seems to be a contributing factor into these rounds. And they're attempting to change up some of their defensive control, try and change up where they're holding, but XL just have such a good read into the map. Oh, that's a good start. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a great start, and then doesn't really follow suit. Flash will come through. Hang on a second. Fake out of that. Oh, no. That should have been converted. That's brutal to see. Chihuahua makes a double to clean things up. 3 remain alive for Ectel up to 8. And potentially we could see that 10-2 that we've seen time and time again, because H2O, they can barely scratch the surface, Sam.
Now I'm starting to get worried. I'll be honest, yeah. Now I'm starting to feel like things are a little stressful. So we take a look now with XL taking a timeout, and you might ask yourself, why? Why are XL taking a timeout? They're 6 up. They've just had a 6-round, runaway lead. And there was a point, I'll be honest, I don't even remember who I was casting, what team it was, but there was a similar situation, and then I remember asking, so why did you take this timeout? And the response from the player themselves, and I believe this is probably a similar situation, was they said, we didn't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We didn't want to let the adrenaline kind of get into our heads and start making us playing sloppy. We don't want to get too brave, I suppose. And so they take a moment, take a breath, and make sure that their heart rates aren't completely out of control, because they don't want to make a mistake. And I think that this is a similar situation here from XL. Just make sure that you don't get too cocky. You don't allow yourself to become overly confident in your abilities here, because H2O have been pushing them hard in the last couple of maps. And if there was ever a time where H2O were going to bring it back in their favor, this would be that time. So XL have to keep their heads.
Well, they do. They need to make sure not to get too overconfident. In comes Rolling Thunder. In fact, it's a very expensive start as Jaff and Patsek go 1 apiece. Maybe slightly overextended there, Patsek, and he becomes costly, but Hardy himself walking straight to danger. Alex good for 1 with the tour de force, but Jaff is on site. Now he's got an idea that a rap's coming through. It's just a question of will he get timing on his favor. He's got the support coming in behind. Alex good for 1 more. Jaffer's getting another, and it's Foxy in a 1 versus 3. This is a brutal position for him to be in. TP will come in, and actually he's got a free site for him. Spike to be planted. Now it's all about this post plant being set up, and he might just about be able to fall away down to 10 points of HP. Dinked through the box, and that's enough. Unfortunate.
What did I tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
If there was a point where this was going to turn around, it would be this very round. And XL could not afford to get too ahead of themselves. And I don't believe that they did, but I think that XL, or rather that H2O, there's some pretty lucky shots there, like that one. And that spray through the box, pretty telegraphed, but the fact that those shots do connect, it pays off quite nicely. Thankfully for XL, that did nothing to their economy. They still come into this sitting absolutely pretty. But this is going to be a very important round for H2O to come out on top of, because they don't want to go into this 9-3. Yes, it is possible to come back from a 9-3. We have seen it an unbelievable amount of times. but it's not a good position. You want that 8-4. It's that best of a bad situation. It's the best position to try to come back from. And again, looking at H2O's positioning here, it's not ideal. And I'm curious to see how quick these reactions and rotations will be.
That's the question. Now, I think you get the early bit of sound cue coming through. Flash will come over, in fact. Will catch Patatek, but he just tucks himself into the corner. Buys a little bit more time. Not too bad of a position for them to be in. And walking into danger, though. Foxy gonna fall immediately. Riyadh looking to get 2. Can't quite deliver as Mo in for the trade. Flash on the corner as well. Doesn't quite catch Jaff. So still, there is that room to work with. But it's a very, very sort of uncomfortable affair for me where for H2O, yeah, the numbers remain the same, but one slight piece is falling away and they're in a dicey spot. But Alex, with an operator in hand, good, they can rendezvous away. Fake out asking over support, tucked into the corner. Viper's pit on for display would at the very least make things a little more uncomfortable. Alex not quite hitting it first time asking, but the headhunter does as Patatek falls. That's a stunning reaction. Viper's pistol online gives them some room to work with. Cloud, the smoke as well, may I say, in their face, but one man has to do so much. Chihuahua only good for one more. It's Alex with a 3-piece, and at the half, 8-4 is where we stand, but they only find that 4th because of individual brilliance of Alex once again.
A much needed round, as I mentioned, as I really kind of drummed in at the start of that round. So there you go, the 8-4 half. The slow-mo, you'll love to see it. Now we go into this half, and H2O have a chance. But this is where Jaff's ability on Neon will be truly tested. He's going to need to use those fast lanes to deny those sight lines, to create space for his team to push through. And bearing in mind, the changes to the fast lane means that it no longer does the damage. So now it's just a curtain that you can just kind of run through willy-nilly. So it's not as much of a foreboding presence as it used to be, which means that it's a bit of a time gate. Once it's gone up, you have to use it before the enemy team, has a chance to push in. Good start from Jaff. Let's go.
Yeah, not a bad start at all. Just very aggressive. I like it. It didn't really give the defense side much time to set up at all, and he makes it work quite nicely. Now, what's the plan? Especially for XL in them having the numbers not in their favour. And there's a potential for them to be spread quite thin. Spotting the first. Couple of shots from the ghost, not going to connect. Chihuahua down to 41. He's going to double back in towards Out of Heaven. Try and get a little bit more of an elevated angle. But Hattie can get that spike go down. It's Alex again. He's causing problems. But he just about converts it into another. Patsek left all alone. Jaff swinging in his face with a frenzy, full blind. But it's Alex and making a 3-piece. Alex, one of the best players we've seen in this series, comfortably, in another 3-piece for him. But as I've said before, for H2O to find success, it takes individual brilliance, and it's off the back of that man. He's 15 and 10.
I mean, this is a problem, though. When you're relying so much... But, I mean, look at XL as well. Okay, Chihuahua and Patatek are tied up, but they're both at the top of the scoreboard, and there's a little bit of a trail for the rest of the team. Not quite as much as H2O, but it's a similar storyline. Also, shout out Chihuahua Patatek. You guys are insane. That's why I highlighted them at the start of the series. I mean, they are just so good. But when you're relying that much on individual prowess, it puts your team in a rough spot. Unquestionably. Oh! Jesus, man!
Alive! What is that?
Oh, they have families.
Oh my god, that 3-piece is so nasty. Now it's down to a 2 versus 5. Yes, Alive's taking damage, but they play the numbers. Patatek will with the Sheriff. Alive, that is stunning. And he's going to find a 4th as well. What a quad that is. Alive, take a bow, son. Take a bow.
Okay, we have to bear in mind that they all just kind of funneled into A main. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ugh, what a monster. And gets away with 12 HP. I just... But again, so everyone kind of funnels in, and yeah, it's a testament that he's able to hit the shots, but it does kind of give him exactly what he needs to make that, work. And again, we find ourselves in a position where H2O win the pistol, but XL beat the Force. Now they find themselves in a kind of a pseudo bonus position. Of course, Chihuahua's brought up into a rifle. And H2O, on the other hand, Alex is up onto a rifle. He's forced in. The rest of the team have basically saved here. They really can't afford to spend much. But Alex with the hero rifle makes it work.
Gun here.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We're starting to see something here. Alex, I can see why they trusted him with a hero rifle, because as we've said time and time again, he's been the difference maker. Now, Rhea going to get that spike down. Alive trying to create a bit of space. Actually, we'll be able to. The paranoia comes through, but it's not really going to cause too much of a problem. They line up. Riyadh running out of ammo. Will whip out the pistol. What is good? Alex for 3. Looking to see if he can make it one more, but he gets traded out by Mo, but it leaves Mo all alone still in this 1 versus 4. And I think it's safe to say that it might be a safe call here. Yeah, he's falling away. Not even going to test the waters. What's the point? A 1 versus 4 doesn't back himself, and I don't really blame him. Just keep hold of the Vandal. Keep that strongish economy in their favor. Has the ability to drop one over if he needs to in towards round number 16. That's H2O up to 6 on their attacking side. They're looking a lot more decisive now.
I love how back and forth this has been. H2O win the pistol. XL beat the bonus. Then, you know, XL... Somehow H2O are able to run over them with like nothing. You know, I mean, this has been so tumultuous, and H2O, there's only a 3-point deficit. We were talking about how we were starting to get a little worried for H2O, but they've found their footing. They're getting back into this quite handedly. We take a look at the economy here. And this is where XL have a little bit of a favor here, because of course this is going to be a rifle round for them. Now it's essentially kind of H2O's pseudo bonus. They had pistols in the previous round. They managed to pick up some guns off of the dead bodies. So they don't really have to spend too much into this. And of course Alex, who has the tour de force available, doesn't need to spend at all. But Alive starts things out this time around. And I think this could be pretty back and forth, I'm not going to lie.
I think it might be. Charl, though, not bad. Alex falling, that makes it all the more comfortable. But Jaff close person with a Spectre. At that sort of range, it should only go one way. And Jaff makes sure, spraying and praying, and it delivers. Riyadh will find Alive as well. Just a couple of pixels to work with. And hang on a second, from a decent start for XL. Not looking like too much of a comfortable finish. Mo's going to be tested momentarily. 2 players making his way in his direction. He might be able to get a bit of timing to work with. Patek flanking. Side on view. Fake Ananas falls. Nading towards Heaven 2. The Fake Ananas might clear a close position. Mo will find Riyadh and Jaff will follow suit. 9-6 to potential, not potentially, to definitely turn to 10 as XL with the first side hit double digits. And now only 3 rounds away from the orders of 13 to take the map and the series.
And the seesaw continues. Back and forth we go. Where we'll stop, nobody knows. H2O now. See if they can continue this interesting little back and forth, as they're now into a rifle round. But bearing in mind, XL's economy has been pretty good, despite how back and forth it's been. They've managed to kind of maintain a lot of the cash and a lot of their composure. And they, you know, the rounds where they lose haven't necessarily been that expensive. So they still have the operator in play, and bearing in mind Alive also has tour de force available for like the next round should they lose this one. H2O on the other hand, full rifles. They committed tour de force in the previous round. They have no ultimates into this one. It's gonna take a lot to come up on this one. I'm out of here.
Yeah, now H2O, with how things stand as well, they've not really got too many buys left in them. If things carry on the way they are, Jaff going to create a little bit of space. Walls to come through as well. Could buy them some time. Foxy trying to just peek around the wires. Not going to find too much at the moment. Vegara's holding and waiting for an overextension. Still, towards the site they've got. Trying to come through momentarily. And now it's all about this retake. Flash coming in. Jaff can't find the mark. Mo and Chihuahua one apiece. Numbers in their favor. Spike planted. Post-barn set up, but it's not looking too strong at the moment. Rolling Thunder out as well. Alex will be caught and he's destroyed by Foxy. This is looking so good for XL in terms of a retake. Can they make it forward? It's the question. And it's looking potential. Foxy will fall, so will Mo. Riyadh's made this difficult. What more can he find as he makes it to third? No way. Oh, that was a little bit too close for comfort, but it's only 3. Not too bad of an effort though from Riyadh. Fair play.
Oh, I'm a little sad now. The seesaw has stopped. We're no longer on that merry-go-round. XL managed to win themselves 2 rounds in a row. And what I can't believe that we're on round 18. I feel like this map has just flown by.
Yeah, same.
It feels like it's been like 3 rounds. And somehow we're at 11-6. Now, XL are in a very, very good spot right now. obviously. They're in the lead, but they're 1 round away from match point. And this is such a stressful position for H2O because they want so badly to get that second win on the board for themselves. They want so badly to prove that they're not the same team that they were last season. And you know what? By and large, they have done that. They have some exceptional players on their team, and they have really, really outperformed themselves. But to have pushed XL as hard as they have on the last 2 maps, and to come to Fracture and to potentially have it be a blowout 13-6, I think that the thought of that is a little paralyzing. So we take the time out, we take a moment to figure out what the next steps are going to be and how we start to turn this back in their favor. Now, I know that I said that Jeff kind of had to show up on the Neon. Yeah. And I believe that there has been a little bit better use of the util overall. But I'm not going to say it's the most impactful because quite clearly Alex has been the big impact here. You have to remember, of course, that the support from the rest of the team plays a large role. But Alex, the supportive Sentinel player, still popping off. It's one of the reasons I had to highlight him at the start of the broadcast as well. He has been exceptional for this H2O roster. The question is, can he continue with that? Can he lead them to a few more round wins?
That's the question. Patsek, Mo, Foxy. Oh, that's just so easy. So easy. No questions asked, no ifs, buts, and maybes. Fake us all alone. Spam through the box, Mo makes it a 3-piece. No questions even asked about that. Analysis is going to be nice and simple. They walked into the Tiger's den and they got eaten.
Yeah, pretty much. That just about sums it up. XL match point. And H2O, their economy is a mess. Obviously, they will force up. They have to. At least they don't have so little cash that all they have to bring to the table is a few pistols. But it's not, it's not great. No. 3 rifles, an SMG, a sheriff, only 2 players with full armor, 2 ultimates here. That has to come up big. He has the most high impact. Oh, no, he's already on the board. No. Alex, Labor Spray with just a bow is able to find one. Upgrade in terms of weapon as well, gives them a lifeline. Alex with a Vandal gives me hope. And I'm sure it does for H2O, but of course he needs something special. Fake unless it's going in close and personal. Potentially could find some timing. Might be tempted to pop a flash as well, but so far just going to play passive. Here's the flash that I spoke about. Pops through. Look for something. Good for the first. Let's get a close angle. Ultimate online though. That potentially gives them room to work with now. Spikes get planted. Of course, suppression coming in. An orbital strike gun line. Mo good for 1. 3 had 1 of his own. Fake out. That's 2. It's out to 1 versus 2. Foxy has to come alive here. Low HP on Fake Unless, but the close angle is tough to clear. Go with the first, look for the second. No! It's Alex with the Vandal, as we spoke about. Alex with a Vandal, we respect it. And just like that, H2O keep the dream alive. I believe in Alex supremacy.
I do.
Oh my god, he's topping the league. Somebody give him a champion skin. I want to see that baby light up. Good grief. What an absolute superstar for this roster. Incredible performance. Honestly, when those first 2 kills came through, the first one onto Jaff, that took that ultimate off the board. The second one onto Riyadh, okay, cool, they still had the Rolling Thunder, but when would they ever get the chance to use it at such a huge disadvantage? And yet somehow Alex, with the hero plays, makes it happen. Now again, they have to come up big, and again it's Daft the first to die, and this is why I said him on the duelist can be a little bit of a liability. That's the second kill. Again, it's Jaff and Riyadh the first to go down.
Yeah, already not too shabby. Patsek falling. Same can be said for Jaff and Riyadh, as we mentioned. Numbers in favor of XL. Alex is still trying to make something work. It comes the Rolling Thunder though, and 1 in response from Mo. Right back at you, and his works are slightly bit more effective. It's 1 apiece though. Mo finds 1. Fake out enough trades. Still, as you mentioned, that 1 man advantage in the hands of XL. And Fake and Hardy, they've got so much to do, so little to work with, and time is of the essence. 50 seconds on the clock. The Viper's pit has popped. It's all going down to these last few seconds. The dying embers of this series, this map to keep the dream alive. What can they find? Getting on towards the site is going to be tough. Spike in hand throw. They could double back, but it's going to be very risky. But that B site is more or less free apart from that one man alive, posted up with the operator. 30 seconds on the clock. They know that there's 2 in towards backside. How do they play? This is the question. Jumping the way forward, trying to find something. Faker actually will be caught off guard by it. He's dropped by Chihuahua. It's a double, ladies and gentlemen. 13-7, a rookie error. Cost Fake Ananasta's life. And Excel, much harder than they expected, take the series 2-1, but that was not kind of how we predicted, and probably not how they predicted. 13-11 both maps, 1 and 2, and a 13-7 on Fracture map number 3. That went the distance, Sam.
Honestly, that last round, so we see a little bit of util going into that Viper's Pit, and I'm like, okay, I see the idea, I like it. Is the execution there?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of the things we spoke about with the Viper's Pit, everybody lit up bright red, and unfortunately, as they walk into the pit, they get shut down. And again, I'm going to kind of bring up the Jaff thing. I feel like there hasn't been huge improvements on that Neon. You know, one of the major issues is him dying relatively early in a handful of rounds. Which does leave his team at a massive disadvantage because obviously, I mean, that's your duelist off the board. And thankfully, you know, Alex was alive for so much and he was able to bring back a lot of these rounds. But it just wasn't enough. This map, it was the one that we expected to be a lot less close for this matchup. I think that we kind of expected XL to do well on it because we had seen the statistics for H2O. We knew we were expecting the Neon to come through. We knew that wasn't necessarily going to be the best play, the best call. And it does come to fruition. And it is very unfortunate, as you mentioned, you know, the 2 incredibly close first maps and the third map to go to a 13-7. I think it's a crushing blow for the H2O squad. But we take a look at the stats here, and I mean, I think that they speak volumes. Alex was an absolute star, MVP over 2 maps. He really is a shining star for this H2O squad.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with Alex. I said it the entire series, and I'm glad he kept that form up because he was brilliant. 284 ACS, 21 kills, 1.4 KDA is stunning. Of course, over towards Patek, 2.4 KDA, 19 kills, 250 ACS. It's nice, but yeah, again, you know, even though they lost, I would still probably propose Alex being the MVP of the entire series. I mean, he was, for me, the consistent factor that kept, may I say, the dream alive for H2O. He was kind of the real person who's tooth and nail kept them in that fight, kept them in the argument of potentially taking the series. I'm seriously impressed with the way Alex played today. And of course, I think with him being the new addition to H2O, if they kind of revolve their squad around him, I think there can be one for the future. And he individually is someone for the future going forward. It's a brilliant showing. But 7-13, may I say. XO take it 2-1. And of course, now again, making that claim towards the top spot.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how H2O performed, but this is going to be a huge feather in the cap for XL. They were already tied for that first place spot. This will 100% confirm them the 4-1, the top spots. Really, really great stuff from this team, and you know, showing again some of that prowess that we saw in stage 1. I think that they probably weren't expecting H2O to push them as hard as they did, and much like previously, we are going to have an interview to kind of dive into the thoughts. And I can't wait to do this because I have so many questions about those maps, about some of the comebacks and about, you know, some of the tech, or rather the tack pauses, and of course about Fracture in and of itself. So really looking forward to seeing that nice little interview for us.
Well, we've got the interview ready. Foxy can join us momentarily, and we can delve into the ideas. Foxy, thank you very much for joining us, mate. Congratulations, 2-1. It was a good series. Are you surprised by how much H2O pushed you there?
I mean, to be honest, I knew that like the way they could win is by looking at our games. Like I think it was, I don't know if it was obvious, but I think that they definitely had a game plan going into Split. Bind we haven't shown, Fracture we haven't shown, but their Split was definitely complicated for us on T side. Like we couldn't work the map the way we normally do. So to be honest, it was a lot of respect to them for doing their homework and making sure we couldn't do what we normally do. So yeah.
Now, a big talking point in Twitch chat was a lot of those tack pauses, and you know how that manages to help you guys kind of recover from a potential streak of lost rounds, but we also saw kind of the 8-2 tack pause on Fracture. So can you walk us through what a typical tack pause is like for you guys? How do you bounce back, or what happens in a leading tack?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like most of our tack pauses, I did see that some people think it's me speaking in the tack pauses. It's not me. I just want to clarify that. Like, I may be the IGL, but I make sure when the tack pause happens, like Jumpy is an amazing coach, so he definitely reads the game when we can't, basically. Like when we're not able to see what's going on inside the game, he'll take a tack pause, he'll calm us down, he'll tell us what's going on. If we're doing the right things, just keep doing it. If we're doing wrong things, what to fix, how to fix it. And that's it, really. Like, I think, for example, the 8-2 tack pause, like, you may think, why did we do a tack pause there? Maybe it doesn't make sense. But it was just, he just wanted to call one round. Like, the next round, we had those. He thought, okay, maybe we do this round, and that was it. So he's definitely more influenced in the tack pauses than me, for sure.
Fair play, fair play. But of course, now with a win here, it's 4-1 for you guys. Understanding you jump in towards that first place. Of course, there's a couple more games to decide who will end up finishing in the playoffs. But I think it's starting to open the eyes of who's going to be in that playoffs. Is there any team that specifically concerns you, or you think is kind of at the same level as you guys?
I want to say no. Like, to be honest, we did take a loss to Finest. I think it was a fluke. Like, I don't think it'll ever happen again. I think the fact that they managed to win from a 9-5 position on Breeze was stupid. Any other day we close it 2-0, and just making sure we shut Finest mouths. Really, to be honest, they like speaking a lot, so that's really it.
I love the confidence. A lot of times players will come on you and be like super humble. You're a straight shot, and I appreciate it. So I'm going to give you the floor here. Any shout outs, anybody that you want to just say thank you to, or just, up a little bit there? The floor is yours.
No, nothing really. No shout outs. Thank you, though. Thank you.
Yeah,
have a good night.
Well, mate, thank you very much for joining us, mate. Go and celebrate that one. 2-1 over H2O. I appreciate you joining us. Confident stuff, to say the least. The Finest, I think, is going to be that one that really interests me, especially if we get to see that game again. As you mentioned, I mean, 9-5 up on Breeze. On paper, I think most people, if they made a bet there and then, it would have been for them to close things out, and that's not what we saw. And of course, it was the reverse sweep from such a deficit. I would love to see that matchup again. It would come with the rematch of the ages, and I think they're probably on paper the 2 number 1 seeds now going forward. Of course, Hukar's really impressed at the start of the season, dwindled a little bit now, so we'll have to wait and see how things pan out. But at the end of today, we had a 2-0 to kickstart things. Unfortunately for Alliance, it just wasn't their day against Heat. And, well, for XL, 2-1 over H2O. It went the distance, though, Sam, and that was, I think, for me, a lot more of a marathon of a game than I initially expected it to be.
100%. Okay, in terms of, like, actual predictions, we did come out on top. We knew who was going to be actually winning the series, apart from Kremer, rest in peace, candle emoji. But it definitely was a lot closer, the second matchup, than I had expected. And you know what, as confident as Foxy was in his interview, I'm curious to see these next few matchups, because obviously, like you said, they lost to Finest. They got pushed to the very brink by H2O. And some of their opponents coming up, I mean, the likes of Hukars, even the likes of, like, Heat, who I know, Foxy and Eccles are good friends. So I would be interested to see, how that one's going to go. I think there's some potential for some really spicy matches coming up.
Yeah, potentially. Let's take a look at the standings, though, how things fare after day 1 here in week 5, if I'm right in saying, as it's starting, as we mentioned, sort of play out. This is the middling point. XO, of course, take that first place position, 4-1, as we expected. Just in behind them, of course, is Finest, Human Tripwires, and Hukars, all sitting 3-1. The only difference between them is, of course, that round difference. Just in behind is Cova 2-2, Heat 2-3, H2O 1-4. Now after that loss, and Alliance, of course, after their loss today, 0-5. You hate to see it.
Yeah, a bit of a rough position for them to be in. The same with H2O. I think that for those two teams, playoff chances are well and truly off the table here. I think, if H2O had managed to pull out the win here, they would have been a little bit better off, but unfortunately just not going to be the case. Heat, have an opportunity. Still in a bit of a dire position. Kova, of course, in a much better position here at a 2-2. We'll see if they can actually manage to get themselves up to the 3-2 here, which could make things very difficult for Heat going forward. And of course, our middling 2 to 4th place, all 3-1. That's going to be a little bit of a bloodbath to see what the positions will look like by the end of this week.
Yeah, for sure. We'll take a look at our predictions as well, the talent. As you mentioned, we both got it right. It's unfortunate for Kremer. It's a bit of an L there as he went for Alliance. Not sure what the thought process was, but of course it leads him now to be in dead last. Let's go.
Dude, I mean, to be fair, and you know what? The only reason you're so excited is because you're no longer sharing dead last,
yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
Anyways, when you look at the first map, I mean, that was very nearly an Alliance map. And even you and I were starting to question, like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was terribly out there. But yeah, the superior oracles reign supreme. Myself, Jenny, and MP. The rest of you scrubs, we look down on you with our radiant symbols. Which, of course, could be a completely different story next week. These predictions have been so tumultuous for the talent. These teams have been so adamant at making these games stressful, difficult to predict. They want to throw in as many upsets as possible. And as much as I want to keep my crown, I'm honestly here for the upsets. I love to see it.
Exactly that. Let's take a look at tomorrow's schedule, though. This isn't the only Valorant you'll be getting this week from Polaris. We've got more beautiful games on tomorrow, as we can take a look at week 5, day 2. Starting things off, Human Tripwires taking on Finest, a bagger game. 2 teams taking a 3-1. Winner of that then gets the challenge towards the top, and of course gets the challenge XL. It's very much all to play for. Then it's Hookahs taking on Kova. If Kova win that one, they then enter the discussion of, potentially playoffs. And of course, Hookahs, they themselves want to challenge for the crown at the top. It is a brilliant day, so I've got to say.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how this one goes. Unfortunately, you and I are not going to be on the broadcast. We're going to be handing over to the lovely Moxie and the ever-present Twiggy. I'm kidding. Twiggy's great. But I think that these are going to be some really good matches to watch, particularly when you consider the position of the teams that are playing. It's all 3 of our 3-1 teams, along with Kova, who are 2-2. So a lot is going to be decided in the middle of our ladder of standings, and I can't wait to see how it fleshes itself out.
Yeah, exactly that. But, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to break it to you, that is us done for today. It's been a long old day of Valorant, but it's been a beautiful one all the same. But before we go, as we've always do, we're going to plug them socials once again. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, ValLeague_NE. Nice and easy. Go and check them out. You see them below our heads. That's where you're going to find all the information on the games, the match times, and all the content too. All the best fragging highlights put up there by our lovely social media team. So go and check it out. But for us, that is done and dusted. So we say thank you to our beautiful partners at SideQuest and, of course, Noble Cheers. Hello, hello. And we say thank you, of course, to our wonderful production team and observers. They made our life very easy today. Sam, I thank you for joining me as per usual. It's been a pleasure. And, of course, you wonderful people at home. But from us, that is all for tonight. So, good night.